In my hand, I have the script for how Shedeur Sanders can win this Browns quarterback competition.
Noah is like the NFL scriptwriters. He already has it all figured out. Listen, I was clear in the last video. I think this is Deshaun Watson's job to lose, but let's just jump right in because it is still a competition, and I believe that. And I am rooting for Shedeur Sanders.
You and me both, Eric. I'm rooting for Shedeur Sanders as well because of where we're at with this quarterback competition, where we're at with this makeup of this roster. It makes sense to play the young guy, see what you got, and then move into 2027. Not going for this tit for tat and trying to figure out if we still have anything left in Deshaun Watson because we're embarrassed about the contract. Listen, I've made this take a million times on this page. Erik has made this take. You could go listen to any of our other quarterback competition videos if you want to hear how we feel about this competition. What I want to talk about today is what it will take for Shedeur Sanders to win this job because I still think there's an opportunity for him to do so. And I think there's a clear list of things he can do to push this competition to week 3 of the preseason and maybe beyond that in terms of getting himself to be the week 1 starter of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. Ball out against the Bills. But let's hear what Coach Monken had to
So
say.
much. I mean, he really has in terms of climbing the pocket, working through his progressions. I think that's a big thing. Even on the one that he threw to 81 in the slot, like he drifted too deep. I mean, we caught him in the blitz, but they weren't even close. Created kind of his own pressure. There's some things he can, and then the operation. It's still a part of it. Getting in the huddle, getting lined up, getting the call. So does Deshaun. They're both in the same manner, so we can stack plays together.
Noah, I want to hear your take on this, but my biggest takeaway here was Luke Floria, look out. You might not have a job because he's not even sure who you are.
That was the funny part of that as well. I don't know if it was actually thrown to Luke Floria, if it was thrown to Malachi Corley, I think, on that play. It doesn't matter. What I think is the most important thing that Todd Monken said in this clip, right? He's talking about what Shedeur has done well, what he can do better. He was kind of co-signing the thought process, too, that he had the right read. It just slipped out and he had a bad ball, and that's what happened on the interception. The thing Shedeur Sanders needs to do most in this preseason game is limit pre-snap problems, and he needs to look crisp in terms of the little things. And this is really what I've been looking for with Shedeur Sanders this entire time. Checkdowns are okay. Pocket maneuverability. I know he can play make. We've seen him play make. I'm not worried about that right now. We need to see him be able to do the normal, everyday, boring game manager stuff at the quarterback position if he wants a chance to be the week 1 starter of the Cleveland Browns. And I think that's the main thing. And I think Todd Monken told us on his Sunday presser.
See, I feel like he needs to do more than just the game manager stuff. I think he needs to go out and throw a couple touchdowns and light it up. And that's because of the back end issues, which is the politics of this position. I do think that they play a part. I think if Shedeur is very clearly the winner, then he'll be starting no matter what, right? But he has to very clearly be the winner. If it's they both look okay, rather similar, then I think the nod will go to Deshaun Watson. I hate to say that. I just think that's where ownership in the team is right now because all we've seen are narratives pushed about Deshaun Watson. We hear coach saying about how hard he's worked. Like everything just seems to be going in that direction. But Shedeur Sanders, his destiny is in his own hands. If he could go ball out, he could capture this job. So I think it takes that personally, even though, week to week in the actual season, all we really need is a game manager. I think he's got to show up and show out to actually win the job.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about that, Erik, because I do think that there's a easy mixture. There's a mixture of this that makes the most sense for Shedeur to go out there and take this job. But first, let's take a break and listen to a word from our sponsor.
At the Office is brought to you by Rambler Reserve.
And we're wearing the hats right now.
We are wearing the hats right now, and honestly, this might be one of the best looking things I've put on my head in years.
Rambler Reserve is a Cleveland apparel brand based on history for people who love this city and just can't shut up about it.
So us?
Us, exactly. Whether it be hats, tees, hoodies, you're going to the game, or you're going to the Muni lot. It's perfect apparel for any Cleveland fan out there.
If your friends say you ramble too much about sports, just own it. Head on over to ramblerreserve.com and use code ATO10 to get 10% off your order.
That's ATO10, ATO like at the office 10, ramblerreserve.com. Listen, what I think Shedeur Sanders needs to do to claim this starting quarterback job is to do a little bit of everything, right? And I know that sounds like no duh, of course, but he really needs to do the game management stuff. I think that's the main thing Todd Monken and really the coaching staff need to see out of him in live game reps. But he also needs to remind them what he is and what he can be with the big chunk, exciting plays that he does produce. I mean, we saw two of them in the preseason game, despite the fact that I don't think he looked very well in the first preseason game. So if he can mix in a couple chunk plays, he can do the game management stuff and say he scores like 2 touchdowns, 160, 180 yards, somewhere in that range, 13 to 18 passing, looks accurate, looks calm in the pocket. He's at least pushing this conversation forward. If it's anything more than that, I think he outright wins the job because like I said in yesterday's video, I think Deshaun Watson bet the dollar and the price is right. And if Shedeur Sanders can hit that money, the price tag right on the head, he wins this job.
Another famous Noah analogy. Listen, Shador's style of play, though, is inherently risky. He does put the ball in harm's way. We saw it during the regular season last year. We've seen it even in that first regular season or preseason game, rather. That's his style of game. So it's high risk, high reward. If Deshaun Watson is going out there and just, let's make it safe, look like I can manage the game, which he did, he looked fine. That's one thing. Shador has to have a clean game, though, like you're saying. He cannot be throwing picks. He cannot be trying to overextend plays and potentially taking sacks, turnovers, etc. The one thing that I liked that I saw in that first preseason game was he was hitting his check down a lot more than he had a tendency to do last year. When it wasn't there, he wasn't trying to force throws. He was hitting the guy that was open. So I like to see that. But his style, I mean, going for it and pushing the ball, it can be risky at times. Hopefully, we don't see that. I mean, his pick, listen, it did slip. The guy was wide open. He made the right read. We talked about this. He can't really handle a slipping ball. It's going to happen, but he just can't have those things happen if he wants to win this job.
Yeah, he can't have those things happen. The main thing I think he needs to avoid is turnovers. If there's some pre-snap procedural issues, like Deshaun Watson had that in his game. He had two of them. He had one that led to a timeout. He had one that led to a delay of game out of what I think was already a frozen game. So there was no reason for there to be a delay of game on top of that. I think the main thing is production, higher production than what Deshaun Watson did. Like, I want to make it very abundantly clear in my mind, Deshaun Watson did not do enough to win this job. So if Shedeur goes out there and again puts up a stat line where we're talking 160 to 180 yards, 13 to 15 of 18 from passing and 2 touchdowns, that to me solidifies the fact that Shedeur Sanders has a stake in this quarterback competition way more than whatever the media has been talking about today, because it seems like everybody has swayed back to the Deshaun Watson side of this quarterback competition.
And that's where the politics plays out, and I think Shador needs to do even more. Let's say that that is his stat line. Maybe he has 1 touchdown, maybe two's pushing it. But let's just say that that's his stat line. Will that then come down to the third preseason game, in your opinion, or will it be decided before then?
Well, Todd Monken spoke before practice today, and I'll pull up the quarterback tracker for those at home who care about it. Todd Monken spoke before practice today about how he would love to be able to name a starter as of Monday, and he would have loved to name a starter after the game on Saturday, on that Monday, but he just doesn't know yet until he gets to see, develop, and understand everything that's going on the field, right? So to me, I don't think, unless he does something absolutely crazy. We're talking all-time preseason performance, which who cares at the end of the day? But we're talking something absolutely crazy. I don't think that there's a starter named on Monday. If he performs horribly, I think Deshaun gets named on Monday. That's just unfortunately the reality of the world that we're living in. But if he goes out there and performs well, again, in that realm of what I'm talking about, 2 touchdowns, 160, 180 yards, I'm not going to keep repeating it, then I do think that this goes into the third preseason game. I don't know what that rep split will look like because I don't want to do drive for drive with them because I feel like that just ruins, consistency. That's Todd Monken's decision to figure out, not mine, but I do think it'll go to the third preseason game. What say you?
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I worry that that indecision at that point impacts the regular season. Like I would ideally have a starter name now that we know will be getting first team reps, that's going into the third preseason game as that starter and first couple drives, etc., to tune up for the regular season. Waiting till after that third game, I don't feel good about it. I know it's a couple weeks then until we face Jacksonville in that first game on September, I believe, 13th, if I'm not mistaken. But wouldn't you rather have the starter name like sooner than late? I mean, I think we all would, but it's a little frustrating. Like, how has it taken till now? And maybe that's just because it truly is a competition and they're neck and neck going back and forth at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to the quality of the quarterback play right now. Like whether you think it's really good, really bad, whether either you think either of these guys, Watson, Sanders, hell, Dylan Gabriel, Taylor Green, whoever's camp you're in,
Dylan's done.
whoever's camp you're in, no matter who you think can perform well, like it's so neck and neck that there's no way to really point at someone and say, okay, you're the winner. I mean, that's really what the conversation has been for most of camp. I mean, Shedeur started out way better than Deshaun, but I will again give Deshaun credit that he has been a lot better as of late. So I do think that's why it's taken so long. And remember where we're at in terms of our competitive window and our rebuild and all of that. Like, yeah, I would have loved to have a starter named before the NFL draft, but that's not the situation we're in yet, right? Like, we don't have a franchise quarterback on this roster. At least we don't think we do, because if we did, he would have been named the starter before the draft and we wouldn't have this conversation. So, there's so much that goes into this that I'd rather extend another week and let the best man win if that's what ends up needing to be the case because of what we see on Saturday against the Buffalo Bills and at joint practice as well.
Let us not forget that friend of the show, Lawrence Charles, likened this injury for Deshaun Watson to a throwing injury of a pitcher and said that, the accuracy will come. It starts with the velocity, and that's going to increase over time. To his point, to his credit, we've seen Deshaun get better over the offseason, not worse. Something to still look out for. Here's an idea. Maybe we start Deshaun Watson for all of our away games, and we start Shedeur Sanders for all of the home games. It fixes the booing issue. I'm kidding, of course, but this is still a QB competition going into these last couple of weeks, and I think we're all on the edge of our seats because we just want an answer.
Yeah, I think we both want an answer. And real quick, because I've put my numbers out there and, my volatile numbers don't really matter. But in your mind, what would it take for Shedeur to continue this conversation, right? In terms of who will be the starting quarterback for the Browns? What are the numbers in your head? You've alluded to it a little bit. No turnovers. I think we both agree there. But what else, touchdown wise, yard wise, passing, completion wise? Where are you at?
I think that he needs to very clearly lead the team on two sustained drives downfield that are scoring drives. I'm not saying he has to throw the touchdown, but what we saw in week one or in the first preseason game rather, was a composed Deshaun Watson doing just that. He didn't really put the ball in harm's way. He got the plays that he needed to extend drives, even coming from behind the sticks a couple different times in a way that led them down the field and led to 10 points. They got points on two drives. I think Shedeur needs to do the exact same thing to stay in this conversation. He needs to show that he's not just going to go 3 and out, that he can sustain drives. It doesn't have to be that pretty long ball. I think he gives us that, and that's the upside of Shedeur Sanders, but it doesn't have to be that. We have to just see that he can take it and actually go downfield that results in points, because we didn't necessarily see that from him. And you could argue, hey, we kind of did because the run play on fourth down was called and that was a bad play call. Whatever. Set that aside. That's what I need to see from Shedeur. Either that or that combined with a poor Deshaun Watson performance is key here. Shedeur cannot go backwards. He cannot phone it in. And if Deshaun Watson goes out there and does the exact same thing, I still think he's ahead in this race by a hair. It's not by much, but I think he's ahead. And that's where the things like external politics that I talk about will start to play a factor. So I do think that Shedeur really needs to show what he's capable of. But to put it away and actually win the job, he's got to go throw for a couple touchdowns and actually, look unstoppable.
Yeah, we got to see the wrist up at Huntington Bank Field. Todd Monken spoke today as well yesterday as well, about the fact that a lot of the starters probably won't play for Shedeur like they did for Deshaun Watson. And of course, they're splitting reps in terms of the first team reps at the joint practice. So there's going to be evaluation there on Thursday as well. But what do you expect that to be in terms of the effect on Shedeur? Like, to me, I still think the rookies play. Like, I still think we're going to see a healthy Dos Stefano to get him ready, and the same thing with Boston and Concepcion. So, to me, I think that's almost enough in my mind where it doesn't bother me, because at least he has some playmakers and he doesn't have all of the backups on the offensive line. Like, I don't know if you've been on the internet much today, yesterday, whatever, but Fano has been getting his flowers for his performance against the Bears. So, I think that all in my mind is enough to make me feel good about the comparison between Watson and Shedeur, because Watson only really had one drive with the starters anyway, and then it was the same kind of skeleton crew I'm talking about now.
Yeah, and as Fano should, by the way, getting his flowers. He looked unbelievable. He looked like a starting left tackle. So we have found our guy, at least for now, which is great. Uh, I, I don't know how much it impacts him. Listen, like the line can't be a sieve. Like we need to actually see him with a clean pocket. But he had that. I mean, the interception was a completely clean pocket for Shedeur last week. So I think it'll be fine. I do want, as you're saying, to see guys like KC and Denzel Boston still be a part of that offense. But don't forget that these preseason games are about cutting the team down anyway. Like we need to see guys like Gage. We need to see guys like Corley because it's part of the process right now. But again, no excuses. Like I think he could go out with any of them and still do his thing. So I don't think it should impact him too terribly much.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Watson looks like as well. And I know we'll talk about this more in our, preview video that'll come out on Friday and whatnot. But I'm curious to see what he looks like with, the third and fourth stringers like Shedeur had to play with last game. Hopefully he can, hopefully if he wants to be the starter, he can be a guy that lifts some of those guys up, as opposed to it just being kind of a shit show, for lack of a better term. Let us know what you think Shedeur Sanders needs to do down in the comment section below to reclaim the front, the lead of this quarterback battle. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. We're covering all things Cleveland sports here on At the Office.
On that note, the debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.